it over to Chanel.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Chanel Alfred. I'm the chair of the VSTE Outreach Committee. I am extremely excited about tonight. We have lots of people registered, so hopefully they'll begin to trickle in a little more. I'd like to say thank you very much to Karen Richardson, our executive director, and thank you to all of you for coming out tonight. It's going to be awesome. Before our guests start, I'd like to say that every Monday night at 7 p.m., I am honored to have the pleasure of participating in an internship with CySecSol LLC. They're a wonderful cybersecurity company. I learn a lot of things each week that I never thought I could do, and I just feel so much more capable. I'd like to introduce Mr. Alan Walker and Mr. Reggie Ralph. They both have multiple certifications, degrees. They're amazing gentlemen. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Alan Walker for being honored as a modern day technology leader at the 2022 Black Engineer of the Year conference. So let's get ready for a great evening. We're going to learn lots. It's going down. And let's clap it up for Mr. Alan Walker and Mr. Reggie Ralph.
All right, thanks, Chanel.
Yeah, thank you, Chanel. That was great. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Chanel, for inviting us. Thank you for hosting this, and thank you for taking us to come along. Really. Yeah. So me and Reggie, I'll talk about myself. Right. I know Reggie's going to talk about himself. First of all, I love teachers. Like, I love teachers so much. Whenever I meet someone who's a teacher, I'm all like, hey, have you ever thought about getting cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is great. I just think that teachers is like, it's so easy to teach a teacher, and a teacher can, it's the fact that they learn so easy. You all learn so easily. And cybersecurity comes naturally to teachers, I think. So whenever I'm looking for interns or whatnot, I'm looking, are you a teacher? You want to come over to cybersecurity? It'll be easy. I'll get your master's real quick, or another master's real quick. So yes, I'm Alan Walker. I run, along with Reginald Ralph, CySecSol. On my full-time job, I work for the Boeing company. I help manage endpoint security, encryption for the enterprise, and carbon black operations. I'm the subject matter expert for 2.5 programs. I pretend I know what I'm doing or talking about most of the time. Most of the time, I just Google YouTube. No, so the Boeing company is my full-time job. But CySecSol is when I started, maybe in 2020. Early 2020, late 2019, when I graduated from ODU for the second or third time. I didn't see a lot of people out in the industry. There was a lot of people that looked the same. So I wanted a more diverse group of folks enter into cybersecurity, and there wasn't a lot of diverse folks. There wasn't a lot of women. So I was like, hey, I'm going to start a company just helping people get into cybersecurity. And we started with 2 people, 2 interns, and now we've grown to over 70 people in just a year or 2 of this. And we've sent maybe 30 people to get their master's degrees in cybersecurity. And these are people with like random backgrounds like me. I wanted to be a state trooper all of my life. So I got a degree in criminal justice. I got a degree in intelligence. I was like, I'm going to be a cop. I'm going to be a trooper. And so I joined the Army active duty. I did everything needed to become a trooper, but I applied like 7 times and they never hired me. So I was like, okay, what else can I do? So I was like, cybersecurity is awesome. And honestly, I like the money. There's so much money in cybersecurity. I was making me and Reggie are very transparent. I was making just $30,000 in 2019 in cybersecurity, and with no background. I went to school for cyber for the first time. I had no idea what I was doing. And then my first position in cyber was $145,000, a total package of $145,000 a year. So jumping from $30,000 a year in public service to 145 was a pretty big jump. And that's what we try to get our interns to. We try to steal as many people as possible because we have way too many jobs and not enough people. That's how we met Chanel Alford. We actually named a scholarship after Miss Chanel Alford because she was so amazing. Her first year with us, she like hit stone after stone after rock after rock after boulder, and she just kept going and kept being so amazing. I was like, Reggie, we have to do something for Chanel because she's setting the bar high. So her, and along with another young lady that we have in our program, we named a full scholarship after both of them. So next year, when we have more interns come to us and we give out our scholarship, we have named it after Miss Chanel Alford. So we're very grateful and we're very happy to see where she's going to go, because she doesn't need us anymore. She doesn't need us she's still in our internship, but she doesn't need to be. So I'm very excited for where she will be next year. So like I said, I have a few degrees. I won't bore you with them. I have a few advanced, a few undergrad, an associate's, which I'm really proud of. My associate's is what I'm most proud of, actually, because it was the hardest one I had to go through. So hopefully by the end of tonight, all of you will be changing your passwords. All of you will be telling your family to change your passwords. All of you will be learning a whole new skill set, and we won't, and I say we because I fall for it too, we won't be falling into the same old issues that we once fell into a year or two ago, when we would just accept random emails, call people back, give our information randomly to people that, hey, I'm calling from this company. What is your name? What is your address? And hopefully tonight you'll know, hey, why should I give you my address? You called me. Why should I give you my name? You called me. Why should I give you my social, right? So you can't just trust every single person that sends you an email, that calls you up, or that walks past your door. You cannot, and unfortunately, it's in this climate that we're in, you just can't trust everyone, and especially when it comes to cyber, because you might say, well, let them hack my phone, let them get access to my email. They won't get anything. It's not like I have anything previewed in there or whatnot, but your email is connected to your bank account, your phone is connected to your bank account. All this stuff is tied back to personal identifiable information that a potential hacker can take from you. And then, yes, it all starts with your name. You give them your full name, that's just an opening to the door. So again, if you have any questions, please ask, interrupt, say, Alan, Reggie, I don't get it. Explain that to me. Please do it. Reggie is my right-hand man. I wouldn't be here without him. Without further ado, Reginald Ralph, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Reggie Ralph. Alan basically gave you a brief introduction on who we are and what we do, so I won't bore you with that one. For myself personally, I've been in cybersecurity for the last 13 years, working with DoD, Department of Defense, at various levels, especially with the Navy. Just recently in October, I moved over to HHS, which is the Human and Health Services. So basically, I do cybersecurity for them, ensuring that any system is accredited. And when I mean accreditation, that means it has the proper security in place, so it can function, so people's information doesn't get hacked. So when you're dealing with Human and Health Services, you got to think about, like Alan said, PII, personal identifiable information. You talk about your cell phone, your numbers, your health records, those type things, date of birth. All that information is very important when it comes to your human and health services, and various applications. Just one of our applications I'll let you know about that is when injuries come. So injury compensation system. So I help with that, make sure everyone's good to go, or make sure everyone's system is good to go and all the security is in place for that. So that's a little bit brief about me as well. I have 3 degrees, associates in wireless communication, bachelor's in network security, and my master's in cybersecurity, and also have a 4th degree in divinity, theology. So try to make myself well-rounded as an individual. So before we get started, is there any questions before we go to the next slide? Alan, did you have anything you want to say?
You mentioned your 4th degree. I want to tell folks, it is great to be well-rounded. And whenever I talk about these interns that we have, or even our leadership, I always tell people to emulate Reggie, because he's a well-rounded individual. He mentioned he has 4 degrees, but he also has, I think, 12 certifications as well,
Yeah,
making him a more, yeah, I didn't, because listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am cocky. It is what it is. Reggie is not, but Reggie has a full idea of what he is doing. He has a better picture. And I want, like, I know everyone's teaching here, everyone has degrees in that, but if you want to move on past that, or if you want to have a better way of, Reggie always says, selling yourself, get another degree, get another certification. It makes you look better.
Yep, absolutely. More bells and whistles you have, the better opportunity that you have. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with what we have. So starting out, basic definition of cybersecurity, or basic definition of security, is referring to the protection of individuals, enterprises, and objects. So when you think about it, as you see in this chart, you see people, technology, and process. The people are our individuals. The technology, like what we own, is Zoom, and then there's a process. When you do a process, it's a SOP, they normally call it, operation procedure. So when you get hired on, for instance, they ask for your I-9, which is, your information, your name, your date of birth, your address, those type of things. That's a process that you have to start when you're dealing with cybersecurity or enterprise security. So just think about it as a school system. Y'all are part of the entire enterprise. Y'all are the people, the processes on what y'all actually do on a day-to-day basis, and then the technology that is used to implement that. You got to think about your cameras and things around the school building. That is part of the technology. Your computers, that's part of the technology. The people, that's you, like I said, the individual, and of course, the process. How do you log into your computer? Those type of things. You got to think there's security involved in every aspect of that. Any questions on that before I go on to the next slide? All right, sounds good. So a lot of time people get information security and cybersecurity confused. Alan and I, we usually go back and forth. I'm more IT, information technology, and he's more IS, in which he would always say, if he probably agree with me, that he says IT sucks because it's a lot of work involved in that. So from the difference of aspect is, once the system is set up, Alan is more protecting the information. IT, I'm coming in and installing the computers and stuff like that. So that's where that comes into play. So if you look at this diagram or this chart, you can see information security side is where the intellectual property, the verbal communication, like we just engaging right here, that's information and information security. The middle is where you have the digital information, where they kind of meet with one another. And then the cybersecurity is like the network hardware. When you're thinking about AWS, Amazon Web Services, that's more of your network and your hardware type individual. So when y'all late at night looking on Amazon, probably shopping, where buying stuff that you shouldn't buy, that's where that comes into play at on AWS. So you're logging onto their platform, but at the same time you're using their platform to order and buy stuff. And that's the network and the hardware and software behind that. Any questions on that? Or Alan, you want to chime in? All right. So we'll move on to the next slide. So when we talk about physical security, as much as I'm pretty sure y'all have resource officers in the school system, there's also your due diligence, or as an individual, to make sure these people are, well, the kids are taken care of from a physical environment. So as you can see, starting at the top, let's start on the left where you see the traffic flow, where that's kind of like where the parents drop their kids off at. And then far as the cameras go, as you know, most schools have cameras attached to the building. And you can see that here. And then also you have the security guards, which I talked about was the resource guards. You have your signs here telling parents where they can't come through, sending them in the right direction. Those are your arrows on the ground that's painted. That's come with the signage. And then you have the manual access control. So as you know, sometimes they have security guards that sit, or resource officers that sit at the desk, and they press the buzzer to let the parents in once they identify that they're a parent, and then they let them in. So once they get in, you see the interior access points. So you can see the control spaces, that's like the classroom. You have the assets where you're talking about where your network and your information is at, where the cable lines come in at for your network. And then you have key personnel. Key persons could be what Chanel resides, as far as on the technology side. And then you also have the resource officer, that's part of the key personnel. And then you also have the principal and the assistant principal as part of the key persons, because they, as you learn, security flows from the top down. So if your principal and your technology resource officer focus on security, then that got to filter down to the employees as a support system. So it has to start at the head of the environment. Alan, you want to chime in or anything?
Yes, I do. Reggie, you should definitely stop asking me that because I will definitely talk every single time you ask me. So yeah, so I wanna explain to some folks that may not know. Everyone is in charge of security, right? So from the student to the teacher to the principal to the resource officer, every single person is in charge. Now, where there is a breakdown in that, say for instance, I'm not sure the protocols, but just for example, a student knows where Miss Alford lives at, right? That is a breakdown of the flow, right? So there's a vulnerability there. So someone might not exploit that vulnerability, like let's go egg her house real quick, let's go TP her house real quick, right? So someone might not exploit it, but the vulnerability is there. So look at that circle, or look at it as layers of, I'm not saying onion like Shrek. I told you Ray should have nothing to talk. Anyways, so think of it like an onion, there's layers to it. So when there's a breakdown, that breakdown becomes a vulnerability, and you got to make sure, hey, I got to patch that vulnerability. You got to correct that. Hey, I don't live there, or no, that is not the right address. No, that you cannot come there. And that's where that vulnerability is patched. And you know it's patched is seeing if it gets exploited. If it gets exploited and someone uses that vulnerability to find out where she lives, then we know that patch didn't work, right? So every layer of security, every layer of where the teachers, the students, the teachers, the principals, the resource officer, everyone has to do their part. And you got to make sure of it. So as soon as you find out, hey, there is a breakdown, there is a vulnerability, it is everyone's responsibility to fix that vulnerability. Because just like Miss Alford, address can be exploited, so can Miss Burks, so can Mr. Mays, everyone's address can be, and that's just simple stuff, right? Reggie gave the example earlier. I'm trying not to talk. Reggie gave the example earlier about being on that site you're not supposed to be at. Be it Amazon, let's just make storeshop.com, right? You go to storeshop.com and they say, and you're buying something, right? You're buying something and you order it, and then a third party emails you and says, hey, did you buy something from Storeshop? You're like, yes, I did. And they said, and then they send you to another website and they're like, hey, go ahead and give us your credentials. And since you thought, hey, I already bought something from storeshop.com, they're just asking my credentials. But you have to ask yourself, did you make an agreement with that third party? Did you make an agreement with that party that said you bought something from Storeshop? You did not. So you automatically have that, you have to have that mentality like, oh, wait, they could be trying to exploit me. They could be trying to use me for the information. And if they got your user, they got your email, they got your password, they have access to your life. And that's how you have to move from now on. You got to make sure, is Amazon writing you or Amazon dot like something else, Amazon.x writing you. You got to verify the user in order to give them your information. If you don't give them your information, they won't have it and you won't be exploited. Reggie?
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, what he was talking about when it comes to dealing with the onion, that's actually called defense in depth. It's the proper term for it. So thanks, Alan, for that input. Let me move on to the next slide we have here. So like Alan already said, security is everybody's responsibility. And as I mentioned before, it starts at leadership and then it's filtered down to the employees. So if people like the principal getting exploited or the resource officer getting exploited, they are setting a bad standard for as getting exploited and not sharing the same type of emphasis on security as it should be. And then when that happens, then it means it just everybody else just falls in line and their stuff get exploited as well. So you have to be able to identify these exploitations. And people are the most vulnerable to it. Social engineering, like Alan kind of talked about already. So if they call you and say, we got your son and we want this amount of money to go to the store and get a gift card and then give us the numbers on the gift card. So that's a social engineering attack where they get your emotions revved up, where to the point where you do things that you shouldn't or normally do. So most of the time we take a deep breath and then you think about it and then make the right decision, if that makes sense. All right, any questions on that? All right. So there's various threats. So you might not know what threats are or different threats are, and it comes in the terms of when they come. But just look at a list of these, you have to think about viruses. Basically, if you click on something and it gets on your computer and then it goes to another computer and then it just keeps replicating throughout the entire network. So it could be one person that click on something and then it just hits everybody on the network and then it just replicate on its own. That's considered a virus. But then you have ransomware, kind of like what I talked about, where you click on something to go to a website that you shouldn't go to. And then it'll say, we got your computer, call this number and give us this amount of money. Once you call the number, they ask you for this amount of money and then they'll unlock your system. Don't never call those numbers because that's an exploit for you asking for payment to get your computer back right. So most of the time they might pop up, just shut down your computer or reboot it and see if it comes back before you actually place that call. Most of the time they have those things, those come in your email, so your computer can't protect itself against that. These last three or last two, well, two out of the last three, spyware and adware, those pop up when you go to malicious websites or just click on website and you just have all those pop-ups come up. That's trying to gather information where they're just looking at you and just trying to gather your information. And then adware is another where you just get advertisements. So I know a lot of people probably use Google Chrome. So when you log into Chrome and sometimes it just pop up in the right corner, it said, do you want to receive notifications from this particular team or group or this ad? You click allow, and then you just continues getting pop-ups all the time from that particular group. So look at it before you actually hit allow, because it could just be the adware popping up. So hit decline or deny or do not do it at all. And then you'll be squared away. And then another big piece of it, this last one, is mobile malware. So a lot of times people have Android phones, and also with Apple, you jailbreak them. You have the ability to do various things on your phone. And sometimes those apps or secure environment or those Apple Play Store or the Google Play Store don't really look at the apps, and they sometimes have ads and viruses in those apps that you download. And then if you click on something, then you get all the advertisements and malware, and then your computer's hacked. So that means, your phone is hacked. So you have to actually get your phone wiped, and you may not have a backup in store, and then you have to be starting from scratch, getting everybody's number and things like that. So it's very important when it comes to mobile devices that you have the right security on those and don't just download apps or games that you don't need. Make sure it's verified. Ali, you want to interject anything on that?
Yes. I want to say that you might be a threat as well. A lot of people don't think, how am I a threat? I can be a threat. And again, it goes back to like you giving away your information, right? Everyone's always looking, am I getting hacked or this? But sometimes you give away so much information, no one even has to hack you, right? So on Facebook, on your Instagram, on your Twitter, you have your name, you have your not your address, your name, you have the school you work at, you have, let's just go there, let's stop there. You have your name and the school you work at. If your social media isn't like locked down, I can see where you work at and your name, right? So all I got to do is just drive up there because I have nothing to do. Drive up there and say, and just look, because that's her profile right there. So I can just go ahead and follow her home or follow him home, or they have a nice car. Let me go ahead and do this because you gave them that information. Right? So if you don't give them that information, if you have your social media accounts locked down, you're less of a threat than someone else. And it's like, okay, it takes too much to find this person. This person, they have their cat as their name picture. They have a fake name on their Facebook. They don't have their work. They have no work at all, no work history at all on their social media accounts. I would encourage everyone to do that, right? If I didn't have CySecSol with Reggie, I would not be on Facebook at all. My name is on Facebook, but if I didn't have CySecSol, you wouldn't find me. So make sure you consider yourself as a threat as well. And then even I'll say one more example. Sorry, Reggie, you asked me. So one more example is when you connect to Wi-Fi, right? When you connect to your school Wi-Fi, or when you connect to 7-Eleven or McDonald's or the hotel. The hotel is really bad. Never connect to hotel Wi-Fi. You have people like me that are just sitting and waiting, tapping on my computer. Oh, someone else connected. Oh, and they gave me permission to access their stuff. Let me go over and find everything, their files, their pictures, yeah. People like me are a-holes. Am I allowed to say that? Work that one out. Edit that one out. But hackers are not nice guys, right? You have people. So I took a certified ethical hacking course at ODU when I was in grad school, I believe. Reggie, he has his certified ethical hacking certification. So if we didn't have those and we were buttholes, then we could go ahead and grab all the information on Tim Mays and Miss Burke that we could possibly find. And Chanel Alford, oh wow. And then furthermore, everyone, and again, this is not a bad thing, we ask you to do this, the people who listed their name, where they work, their job, all that stuff in the chat, if y'all didn't know me, I wouldn't have done that. But I'm not gonna do that, but I'm just letting you know and putting you in that mind frame. Do not give out your information. Don't do it, because there are some people out there that are just waiting in their parents' basement and they're like, hey, who can I have lucky, or even next door when you have your Wi-Fi turned on, whenever you're at home. I know I'm long-winded now. When you're at home and you're sleeping and you're not using your Wi-Fi, turn off your Wi-Fi, disconnect it from your phone. Don't leave it connected overnight, because a guy might be driving down your street and you have a regular old password and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but for those who have regular words or words that can be found in the dictionary as their passwords, I can probably break them in 30 seconds, a minute tops. If I can find your password in a dictionary, you're screwed. All right. So if you're at home, you're sleeping, and your password is easily crackable, I got access to all your information, and you have no idea that I grabbed it. So think of it like that. Reggie.
Yeah, and then some of the techniques for making a strong password, like you said, don't use dictionary words. And if you do, so if you're using Houston, you can use H, capitalize the H, and then the O, you can make it an @ symbol. And then you have the T, you can make it a exclamation point or something along those lines to confuse them, and then add numbers and then special characters. The special characters, of course, is the $, the asterisk, those type things are very important that you can do to make sure your password is very secure, or at least hard for them to crack. In the DoD or Department of Defense, our passwords are at least 16 characters long. I know it's kind of hard to remember sometimes, but it's at least 16 characters long when it comes to making passwords. And most of the time, we really don't use passwords. We use multi-factor authentication. That's basically two things you need. So there's ways to do authentication, something you know, something that you have, something that you are. So those are the ways of authenticating. So the two-factor, basically, I got my cell phone, and then also I have a username. I get put in my password, and then I get alert to my phone. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all do that with your banking. You get alert to your phone, you put that PIN code in, and then you have access to whatever you're trying to access. So those things are very important when it comes to securing yourself in this digital space. Any questions on that before I go to the next slide? All right, if not. So we kind of talked about ways.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Is the Face ID like a secure way rather than setting a passcode? Because I know like a lot of times now, especially like with Apple, it's asking rather than set a passcode, like to do like the Face ID. Is that better than doing a passcode or no?
Yes, because the Face ID that's something that you are. That's like biometrics. So that's something that people can't replicate. They can get your PIN and get in your phone without a username or password. But if you're using your Face ID, that's something that you are, and no one else can replicate that per se, if that makes sense.
I would like to add, me and Reggie do this a lot, and sometimes we disagree. And I love him so much that he's cool with it. So I would say, if you're using your face, watch who you, can I say that? Watch who you are around, because if you're sleeping and you're using your face, then all someone has to do is and that's it. And they have access, right? So, and Reggie also mentioned multi-factor. So if you got to use your fingerprint, use your fingerprint. If you're paranoid like me, use passwords and use crazy passwords. Use like 16 characters is the minimum. And you might say, I would never remember special characters and all that other jazz. It becomes really easy.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but it's so. I want to say I caught the tail end of that comment on the chat. But anything in the entire world, even the White House, anything is hackable. Anything, everything. Like there's nothing that's not hackable in the whole world. Outer space, there's nothing. All it takes is time. So if someone's spending days on days trying to crack it, I mean, I don't know how important you are. You might be that important, but if you're not, then you don't have to worry about that. But give people as much time as they need trying to break into your information. Make it as long as possible. Yeah, make it as long as possible. Go ahead, Reggie.
Yeah, I was gonna say also with that, they're not doing it themselves. They actually use a computer and it just starts just scanning for passwords throughout the whole time. So they're not just like, well, the password's not password and it's not just 1, 2, 3. So they just have a computer that runs against your username and it continues to try to get your password. And that's what that does. So they're not actually physically doing it themselves. Only thing, they're just hitting the button and then it just starts doing it on its own. I think in the chat basically told about that when that person or how long it took to crack that password. I don't see it anymore, but I think that's what we're talking about, referring to. So we talked about all of that to bring you to this point on how to protect yourself. There's classification of security controls. You can prevent them by making sure thwarting it or trying to prevent them from getting into your computer by having like the antivirus and stuff like that. And then the next part of that, you detect it, basically, like Alan was saying with the Amazon, rather than just clicking on the link, you looking at the actual URL before you actually click on it. And that's detecting on your side. So, and then after that, you have the corrective action. So say, for instance, you actually click on something and it comes up, the antivirus is fix it and get rid of it itself before it actually matures. That's kind of like the corrective one. And then you have the deterrent where if you get, say for instance, your school system sends out weekly emails about various incidents that's happening in the school, and don't become a victim, and you know, that kind of like awareness or training, those are more like the deterrent side of it. And then when you come to the compensating control, that's basically kind of like an alternative to the actual antivirus, where they provide intrusion protection and then also some other things that's in place. So even if you click on it through the web browser, you still have security in place that if that doesn't catch it, something else does. So it's alternatives and different items for that. So that's where the different types of controls come into play on that. And I think that was the last slide I had, but feel free, is there any questions towards me and Alan that we can answer? Or Alan, do you want to add anything to that last slide I had?
Reggie, no, I told you not to ask me to talk because you know I'll do it. But no, are there any questions?
Yeah. How often should you change your passwords?
I would change my password at least every 2 months.
Yeah, in the DoD, what they used to do is every 60 days. That was the standard, every 60 days. And you don't have to completely just get rid of the whole password. You can change characters within it. So if you use a special character, you can use $signs. If you're using something else, you can use asterisks or hashtags or something along those lines. You don't have to scrap the whole password. And then also some techniques. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I mean, you could do it if you want to, but if you look at your keyboard, if it's 16 characters, there you can do 1 QAZ, the 2 WSX, and then what you can do, you can even switch it and hit the shift. You can do hold shift, and then it'll be the exclamation point, to capitalize the A, to capitalize the Z, and then Then you got the @ symbol, those type things. Those are like password techniques that you can use. So if you want to use the first row, the fourth row, and then the third row, and then come back and reverse it with the second row, the third row, and the fourth row, you can do your password like that. They give you some techniques.
Reggie, you have a question in the chat from Mr.
Okay.
Bill. He asked if you were talking about some password managers.
For me, what I normally use is called Dashlane, and Dashlane can change your pass. You can either generate a password through Dashlane, or you can create your own in Dashlane. I pay. They got a free trial version, but I paid the premium one. It's $100 for the year. But you got to think about it. If I'm paying $100 for the year to maintain my password and it's secure, it's a whole lot easier to pay the $100 than you have to do somebody taking all your money out your bank account, and then you got to get a new bank card and all that good stuff. That's a more headache than what is worth the $100.
It really is, and definitely is really good for extra security. I would say as well, if you are not paying for security, it's not worth it, right? If you're doing a free service for maybe 30 days, then do that. But if you're trusting in something to protect you for a whole year and you are not paying for that, it's not worth it. And I would agree as well. Like it just makes sense. If you're spending $100, and we're not salesmen, we don't work at Dashlane, we don't do that, right? At all.
Right.
But if you're paying $100 and someone can get into your account and destroy your entire life, the $100 seems minuscule in comparison. So always pay for protection, always, and that includes AV and antivirus as well, and firewalls.
Yeah, AVG, I think it's one of them that they offer free. Malwarebytes has free instances. Those really, I mean, they're there, but they really don't catch anything. They're like the after the fact. So they got you, and then you see it up there, then you got to remove it yourself. No, if you pay for it, they usually block it before it gets there. If that makes sense. All right, any other questions? Oh, yeah, I think. Yeah, so also if you going, it sounds simple and it sounds easy, but if you go to if you get an email saying they're gonna give you $100 gift card or anything free, don't do it, because nothing, as y'all, I know we got people over 20, hold on, let me get my camera right here.
Someone cue the Jeopardy music.
Now I'm back. All right, so when it comes to, yeah, so those things, I know we kind of over it. I don't know, people, I know we over 20, but if you ever have, I don't know anything, people have gave you $100 gift card for free. There's nothing in life free. I don't, you got to understand that there's nothing in life free. So if you get the gift card email or saying you didn't get your package or something along those lines, dealing with those type things, saying we have a free gift for you, don't click on it.
Basically, don't trust anybody in cyberspace. Not anybody. I had a real world example. My neighbor, he retired warden, and his wife runs the nursing program for OBC, I believe, OBC. So they're not dumb people is what I'm saying, right? So their mom got hacked. Their information was on her mom's computer. They got hacked. You understand what I'm saying? So make sure your information is safe. If you're giving your information to somebody, make sure you trust that somebody and make sure they have the proper things in place so that they are protected and that your information is protected. Just don't give it all willy-nilly. Remember that store shop, the analogy I made earlier? Don't trust everybody. Every website isn't a credible website. And if you give your children, your significant other, your information, make sure, hey, what do you have protecting that information? Is it just on your phone and your messages? Nah, that's not secure enough for me. There's other apps for messaging that are more secure than your texting that's naturally on your OS device.
Yep. WhatsApp app is a good one that you can use.
Signal is another one. So there's And we as professionals, I would say, well, Reggie's a professional. I just loiter here. Reggie as a professional, there are give and takes. So Signal might be great in this area. WhatsApp might be great in that area. Well, you have to decide for yourself, what do I need? What do I need protecting? What level of security is best for me in my environment right now? My environment being my network of environment, when I'm at home.
Yep. And then another part of that I'll add in is the CIA triad. A lot of people are not familiar with that, but it's very important. CIA basically stands for confidentiality, integrity, and then availability. A lot of times in cyber or in technology, we compromise one or the other. So in order for you to have a lot of functionality, the availability may not be there. And then as far as confidentiality, basically allowing the people that should see it. Integrity, basically, as long as nobody make any changes, unauthorized changes, as long as the right people are able to make the change. Then availability is you're able to access the system when you need to access the system and do your job. So that's part of it. Other than that, I think that's all I had.
Oh, one more thing. I just want to stress, because the teachers, I love the teachers, but me and Reggie also volunteer. So what me and Reggie do is all volunteer. We don't get paid for this or whatever. So we volunteer at a couple of schools as well. And I think even one of the superintendents is in our program right now. And not all of the teachers support the students that want to get into cybersecurity. So I encourage each and every one of you, if someone reaches out to you and says, hey, I'm thinking about getting into cyber, I'm thinking about going to computer science, please help them, because I have a student, right, I'm not gonna say her name, but they didn't support her. And then I ended up having to get her into cybersecurity at Old Dominion University. Old Dominion University is a credible university, and she had no support from her school. So please support them, especially people that don't normally look like it. And if you say, oh, they don't have the grades, they're not smart enough, I will jump on that grenade every day of the week. I flunked and failed out of ODU. That was in 2008, but I still failed out of college, right? I am now running encryption for one of the largest manufacturing companies in the United States, right? I'm a subject matter expert. I'm a security design engineer, and I flunked out of college, all right? I went back to school and I got a couple more degrees, but the point is, if you would have looked at me back then and I would have told you I still want to do this, you might not have supported me, but still support the student. Always support the student, I encourage you. And teachers, again, I love you guys. Thank you for all you do. Reggie and I are done.
Yep, thanks,
Does
y'all.
anyone have any questions for our gentlemen? Anyone else? In the chat, I've placed the link to the company if you want to get into contact with them, or you want to inquire more about the internship, which is an excellent opportunity. We have educators from all across the state with us tonight, so and out of state actually. So I'm very excited about that. Just want to say thank you very much to both these gentlemen. I also had I've been getting great direct messages in the chat. People are saying that this is amazing. And I had a couple questions. Someone else wanted a copy of the slides, gentlemen. Is that okay?
Absolutely, by all means, take it.
Okay. All right. And I think that's
all right, and please, teachers, if y'all want to get your degree in cybersecurity, you don't have to necessarily come to us. Now, we give guaranteed admission to Old Dominion University to the graduate program, and we make it very easy for you guys. I just have a heart for teachers, and I know I'm probably like droning here, but I really have a heart for you guys. So if y'all want to get into cybersecurity, one of my first interns was a teacher, criminal justice background. She had no history in cyber, just like I did. And she went from making 40 to more than double that now. And all she was interned with us for like a year and some change. And now she's gone making great things. I'm not trying to take you away from your schools. You can still be great at your schools if you want to be there. But if you want to, the door is always open.
Yeah, you can always go back and teach cyber to the kids too.
Facts.
Karen, would you like to add anything before we
Thanks
conclude?
very much. This was terrific. And I will be changing a few passwords perhaps, but I do pay for a password manager, so I feel pretty good about that. And as a quick aside, I got one of those calls from Amazon. Somebody was trying to charge something on my Amazon account, and Amazon never calls you, for goodness sakes. You can't get them on the phone. But all I had to say was, that's really interesting. How would someone break into my account? I have two-step authorization turned on. Click, they hung up. So that's one of the strategies I've been using as well. I thought that was kind of funny.
Sounds good.
Other comments, questions, anyone? Thank you, Chanel, for organizing this. Thank you, gentlemen, for your practical suggestions and also for your offer. I've got your website pulled up here, and I think there might be folks who would be interested. Certainly an important topic for everyone, including educators. For folks in the room, if you want to share this with colleagues, we'll get it uploaded onto the VSTE YouTube site probably by tomorrow afternoon, so the recording will be widely available. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
good
Good
day.
night.
Thank you.